Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, all they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test, now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah. Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit a wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told them we ain't in the fake and this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my tax is thorough. Way I'm shooting like step, but my pass is bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in their fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told them I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made off the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down, cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla, cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
Woo! Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Need a something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She at me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoe, you niggas know me. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Frankie Kendall's live stream right here, every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Almost forgot the intro there, guys. But welcome in, Mafia. Here we are, sitting at $92,935, flipping our key level of support, which was that value area low at 91.3. Bitcoin attempting to get the move up towards that $95,000 to $97,000 level that we were talking about yesterday, getting a little rejection on the local value area high, which we also looked at yesterday. But are we going to be able to break through here, guys, and hit that upper target with FOMC coming down the line? What is coming next here? We're going to talk about it. I am still holding the long position, even caught a nice little scalp short. I'm now out of that position, caught some nice profit on the day, still holding the long. I'm going to talk about the probabilities of coming up a little bit higher, what we need to hold in order for that to be the case, and the key levels that if lost would call for the bigger move to the downside. We're going to cover it all in today's live stream. Thank y'all for tuning in. We got, shout out to Christian Mella keeping it out of control in the chat with the crazy comment. Shout out to Christian Mella. Welcome in. We got More Timer Duke. What is going on? Astro Zombie. Good to see you in here, brother. Happy to have you. Let's see. Shout out to Richie Crypto said, when I say Frankie, you say candles. Frankie candles. Frankie candles. Hang on one second, guys. I got to stop the camera from bouncing. Give me 2 seconds. We're back. Hopefully that helps. But guys, we got a lot to look at on the chart. Shout out to Slim Shift Media. Shout out to Jesse. We got Captain Kirk in the chat. CandleMafia Mama, welcome in. Let's see who else we got in here. Show them out some love, guys. We got Amina in the chat. Lord Black Video. We got Huddle Crypto, Panda the Prophet. We got everybody in here. H-Bar to the Moon said, was that guy dancing in that GIF? Frankie's dad when he sold the top. If you guys didn't know, my dad did sell like dang near 126K. Is it going to be the top forever? We don't know. But so far, he's been correct. So let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Here we go. All right, guys. So here we are. As we all know, yesterday on the live stream, we were looking. I'm going to take a little bit of zoomed out view here. We'll start on the higher time frames just to give you guys that macro viewpoint. Now, obviously, let me hide these purple boxes real quick. Bada boom, bada bing. Bada boom, right? So we do have this macro value area that we are hoping, we were hoping and are still hoping that we could stay inside of here, guys. This was that key level. We were hitting our head. But as we were bouncing around here, guys, we were putting in higher lows and higher highs, looking for a potential push to break our high here at about $94,186. If you guys saw the market update earlier, obviously we did have some liquidity sitting up there. And we were hoping, right, to see that new higher high come in. We did have the 8-hour money flow attempting to cross over into the green. Hopefully we can see that continue if we are going to get a bigger retracement. Now, I will warn you guys, we do have FOMC this week. So obviously this could add a lot of volatility. I think the rate cut is expected 0.25 basis points. Of course, as we always talk about, guys, oftentimes, those predictions are right, especially when it gets this close to the date. And if we wanted to see some kind of massive move, right? A lot of people say, like, what happened? Why are we dumping off of the rate cuts? And at the end of the day, guys, it really comes down to the fact that, the market prices this stuff in beforehand, right? So I would expect, maybe a sell the news event or a lackluster kind of reaction off of FOMC unless they come in with a bigger rate cut or we hear Powell be super dovish. Unless we hear something that nobody is expecting, I would expect either a sell the news event or, maybe just like a not really that crazy of a reaction, right? Maybe we'll just kind of bing bong around. But we are back above this value area low at $91,300, which is obviously that big level. And of course, right, just from a simple standpoint, guys, if we can remain inside of here, the doorway to that next bigger target that we've been covering forever is still sitting here between 95 and 97K. Are we finally going to see this tap? Obviously, we were looking at it back here when we came up to about 94K. Not just because we didn't come up to that key level did not mean that we were not going to find those local shorts within our local profile. Did take that short, made some nice money here on the way back down to the POC, and then on the way back down to that value area low, we came down to tap our golden pocket retracement. And as we were looking at this yesterday, being like, hey, this is always, I talked about this in the market update, this is why we look at support and resistance as a zone, right? We have the value area low down there, but of course, when we take a look at this, right, we have the golden pocket there, and on Friday, right, it was like we were bing bonging around, front running the level, and it's just insane, right? Like I always look for those key levels to get hit, and literally like it is, like I said in the market update, right, like it's programmed into price. We had to go tap that golden pocket, and when we tap this, right, it does open the door for a potential higher high to come in, which of course we have now seen here, breaking above that $94,186 high. So beautiful to see that happen, right? We're just continuing to put in higher lows and higher highs, and of course we are above that $91,300 value area low, which is of course still in confluence here with the POC of the range. Now, how far can we potentially pull back, right? We did get a little bit of an SFP up here. Did take a scalp short position. I'm now fully out of that position. Not that I would regret this, but we could still continue down, right? But made some nice profits there on that little scalp position to the downside. identifying that we had some single prints sitting down below us, guys. We got the SFP here. I'll just mark it out so you guys can see, right? You get the wick above, the candle closure down below. One of the best entry triggers you can look for are swing failure patterns, guys. You see the wick above, you see the candle closure down below, and then you see that push to the downside. And as we were looking for that push down, we did have these single prints, and we knew once we broke into these single prints, this is very similar to a low volume gap. It's pretty much just like imbalance, right, or an inefficiency. Once you get accepted into those single prints, oftentimes you will see them fill very quickly. That continue to have that short position play out. However, we do have some more single prints down below, right? So when we take a look at this, we have a big batch of single prints down here, right? If we get accepted below these single prints and we cannot get back out of them, again, very similar to the low volume gaps, we could see this fill very quickly down into the POC of the range. The single prints come right on down to that POC. And of course, right, this is going to be the confluent value area low of the range, right? So this is a huge level to remain above. I want to be very clear about that. And of course, right, another reason why I was looking for that little scalp short was the fact that, even though we had the bigger target above us, above 95 to 97K, when we look at that local range, we talked about this yesterday, the only other place where I would look for scalp shorts would be, right, we talk about it, getting above that value area high, right? We got the SFP, bada boom, you get the little pullback. So hopefully we can hold these single prints as support, but I just want to be, make you guys aware, right? We do have some of our money flow coming to the downside here on the lower time frame, so not impossible for this downtrend to continue. If we get accepted into those single prints, could be a fast drop down to that point of control, and this is going to be a pretty important level of support. Not only is it the POC, obviously, also the value area low of the range, and if we pull some golden pocket retracements here, you can see it is also confluent with our golden pocket 786. So if we are going to be looking for higher lows and higher highs, we would hope that you can hold inside of this volume profile. So even if we get that bigger pullback, right, hopefully we can hold the higher low here on the value area low, and then eventually see that bigger target, which still does remain up here, guys, between $95,000 and $97,000. We have the daily MPOCs and the weekly MPOC on top of course, the point of control of the range. And the longer term kind of macro theory there is if I hide the local levels here, let me just go ahead and hide this stuff, right? Of course, if we can get accepted in here, right, just from a simple volume profile perspective, I'm not instantly going to expect a full fill of this range. But of course, once you hold above that value area low, right, that keeps the doorway open to the POC. When you flip the value area low, the next likely place for price to go is to get sucked up towards that magnetic level of the POC. I will be looking for rejections here, very similar to the local value area high. If we do come up and get the rejection, we'll still have to hold on top of this value area low. As long as we can stay inside the range, flip the POC, we can start to look for that bigger retracement up to the 50-week moving average. I don't know if that's going to be a high probability. We have the 8-hour money flow trying to cross into the green, which could indicate that the trend is going to continue up. But of course, that 50-week moving average is going to be a massive level of resistance. I don't know if we're going to come up and test this sooner or later, but it is just the next level, right? We have the major level of support on 95 to 97K. But if we were to just for some reason flip that into support and push back up, the next major zone of resistance, as we covered yesterday, is going to be sitting here between about $105,000 and $102,000. Once we flip this, guys, this is going to maybe give me a little bit more of a bullish bias, right? I'm never just, calling for price to go down for no reason. I do still have my higher time frame bearish bias. But once we flip that 50-week moving average, of course, as I've said yesterday and in the market updates, like for the past few weeks now, once we flip that, right, we can actually say to ourselves, now we are seeing something that we have never seen happen in a Bitcoin cycle ever, right? Which is not that we've never flipped the 50-week back into support, right? But this late in the cycle, typically it's a pretty bearish sign, right? Timing wise, we are definitely in this area of the cycle. Doesn't mean you have to play it out like this. And it's going to be pretty much the anticipation until proven otherwise. So if we did get the bigger push up into the 50-week, got to be aware that is major resistance. But if we end up flipping it, right, we would say, hey, we've never seen this before, and it would be a pretty good sign. I just don't know how high probability it is to flip, and I can't really put a high probability on it until we see it happen. But just to give you guys kind of my context moving forward. So, cautiously optimistic, right? Being aware that we could still, with the higher time frame money flow coming out, right? You have the 3-day money flow still in the red. Of course, right? It's just kind of bing-bonging around there, but, there is still a chance for this to come deeper into the red. With all the bearish confirmations we've seen, I'm not going to cover the whole long-term thesis here. I've covered it. I've beaten that horse. It's not even beating the dead horse now. It's just like a mutilated horse. No animals were hurt in the making of this live stream, guys. It's a figure of speech, I guess. But, of course, we do have to be aware, right? Anytime you see these high time frame money flow crossovers, right, is typically, even in the bull market, right, like it is indicative of a continuation down. But in this particular scenario that we're in, from a timing perspective, right, those 5-day money flow or 3-day money flow crossovers, and more importantly, right, like the 5-day money flow crossover, which we're also seeing, they don't happen very often. When they do happen, they are not to be ignored, right? That's why I'm being very cautious, right? It's not just for no reason. It's just, what the charts are telling us here. So I will be aware of the macro lower highs for macro lower lows. We talked about if we get another big drop to the downside, we could look at this weekly MPOC at $78,550, which would also give us a nice little 2-day bullish divergence, right? If you did get that bigger drop down, whether it comes from the rejection of the value area low or we get the bigger push up to the POC, if we put in that lower low, I will eventually, just to be clear here, guys, I will eventually be looking for a bigger drop down to some big key levels of support, much lower. But at the end of the day, right, we could look for bounces on that weekly MPOC. And if we did do it, right, could print a little bit of a bullish divergence on the 2-day, which would be one of the big indications that I would be looking at in order to look for that bounce, right? Like one of the reasons I don't love this low is just because we don't have any massive confirmation, right? We don't have any bull divs on the daily. We'd have no bull divs on the 2-day, the 3-day, nothing like that. I talked about this, back here. Number one, we were testing the 50-week as support, right? We were not below it and making it resistance. But we also had these bullish divergences, right? You had a little lackluster bull div here. Money flow was crossing into the red. Even with that lackluster bull div, right, you look for lower highs and lower lows based off that money flow coming to the downside, indicating the trend will continue. You get the lower high, you get the lower low, then you get this nice, clean 2-day bullish divergence, and you finally get that bigger retracement into the range, and then you fill it in full. Obviously, a different part, a different environment that we were in back here. The reason I'm not, could you put in the 2-day bull div and, launch it off? Maybe. But of course, right, different scenario. We were holding the 50-week as support. Now we're below it as resistance, getting rejected underneath this again. It is going to indicate that probably the downtrend will continue, especially with all the high time frame money flow coming out, like the 5-day, right? 5-day money flow did not cross red here. We also had a lot of time left in the cycle, etc. So it's a little bit of a different environment, which is why I'm approaching this with a lot more caution than I was here looking for new all-time highs. Not impossible, but that's just what the charts are saying. And, flip that 50-week, it could look a lot better. So right now, local levels I will be looking at. We'll take the macro range off the chart. Right, we're just within our volume profile here. And again, next target to the downside, if we do end up filling those bigger single prints, right? Looking down towards that POC at 91.3, confluent with the value area low, absolutely key to remain above. And then if we start losing this POC, right, this MPOC is now tapped. Same situation as back here, guys, right? Yesterday we were looking at this. We had front run our golden pocket and our daily naked point of control here. We had no bullish divergences. There is no long trade for me to be had there. Not that you couldn't have scalped this to the upside, but I always say you want to wait for those key levels to get tapped. That there's no confirmation, there's no trade. And then what happens, right? You get the push, you get the rejection at the POC, boop, tap into that daily naked point of control. You get the bullish divergences, and then we can get the big pop to the upside, right? Literally covered this yesterday. Very similar situation to this. We front run the level, no bullish divergences. Then you retap the key level. You get the bullish divergences, bigger move up. So, if you take anything away from this live stream, guys, it's like you got to wait for those key levels, in my opinion. Not that you couldn't have just continued up here, but the higher probability is going to be to come down and test those levels. These are magnetic levels. And it's like poetic, right? It's like literally magical. So we'll see. Hopefully we don't get accepted into these single prints, but of course, right, 15-minute money flow coming out, 30-minute money flow kind of flat here, 90-minute money flow kind of flat, 80-minute money flow kind of flat. So, we'll see. Maybe these lower time frame money flow crossovers, if we get accepted into the single prints, we can look for that bigger pullback, but all eyes on that POC, value area low, golden pocket, confluence, right? And we're hoping we could hold above that. Once you get accepted back down in here, right, you start losing the POC. If you can't hold that 786, this is obviously already tapped, so we could take that off the chart. If we lose this zone, next key level to look at is probably just going to become, once again, the weekly and daily MPOC / value area low of the range. So I'll give you guys these numerical levels so you can get them on your chart. Value area low MPOC confluence between 87,289 and 86,638. And then if we did end up just getting the pop to the upside, right, bigger level of resistance, obviously still sits up here. I'm hoping we could come up and tap this level, if I'm being honest, guys. But at the end of the day, right, like you lose this level, right, like it just becomes a lot less probable, right? Because at that point, you're below the POC, you're below the 786. The next likely place for price to go in that case is going to be the value area low. The one thing I do like about potentially being able to get out of here is the fact that if we look at it from a macro perspective on the macro value area, right? It's like, well, we'll just retest that value area low. And then even this, right? Like this 30-minute does look like maybe, can't promise it, right? This momentum wave has come pretty low. But if you print that green dot, and we did wind up shooting up to put in a bearish divergence into this key zone, right? Green dot prints could put in a lower high there for the bearish divergence, which would call for a new high to come. So I'm just sitting on my hands. I already took the short, closed it. If it continues down, it is what it is. I might wish I ended up holding that, but can't cry about money made on the day, right? So for me personally, I'll be waiting for this bigger target for another short. If not, I'm just holding the long from lower. See if I can pull that up real quick, right? Still holding this long from the lows, just waiting for that $95,000 target. Come on, Bitcoin. You could do it. But let's see. Let me jump on into chat here real quick. Oh, my God. I'm way behind in chat. Oh, God. It's glitching. It's glitching. Green dot on the weekly. Shout out to Crypto. I don't know how to say that name, but shout out to Crypto. Yes, we do have the weekly green dot. The reason I would be looking at this, we covered this yesterday, right? You get the weekly green dot printing. You have your 10-hour money flow attempting to stay in the green here, right? That could be a market cipher B116, right? Which is why I'm open to just simply being accepted into this value area, right? It could be good for a continuation up. Of course, we have FOMC. Probably going to be, some wicks going on. Who knows what that's going to look like, right? But yeah, we have the weekly green dot. And on top of that, you have the 10-hour money flow crossing into the green. This will be good for a continuation of the trend, right? Doesn't mean I'm looking for all-time highs, but it could indicate that we could continue a little bit of a trend here. And again, right, like this was massive, massive support, right? Holding that long here. I actually missed the setup that we had here at the low. I think this happened like super early in the morning. But I did catch that retracement, right? So we're covered for the long. Hopefully that weekly green dot, that's kind of the bullish case, right? Weekly green dot, 10-hour money flow crossover, 8-hour money flow crossover. Hopefully the medium-term trend can continue up. That would be very, very, very nice to see. Get some real relief in here. But of course, we can't just ignore all this massive resistance, right? Weekly green dot is not just necessarily something that you look at and say like, oh my God, massive, massive move, right? It's nice. It's better than a 4-hour green dot. But of course, right, it's all about money flow. Money flow indicates the overall trend. I'll try to find an example here, right? Like, last time we had the 5-hour red dot, money flow crossover into the red, right? I'll just mark it off here with a vertical line. Right, you end up coming down, bada boom, bada bing. You get the green dot on the 5-day. You do end up getting a little continuation up, but only to put in a lower high and a lower low, right? And why would you anticipate that? Well, your money flow is coming out, right? So the green dot could indicate a push up. When it comes to market cipher B, guys, green and red dots indicate the ebbs and flows in the market, right? Green dot, red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot. Money flow indicates the trend, right? So when we look at the weekly right now, green dot is nice. Money flow is not crossing over into the red just yet, at least on the weekly, but it is trending out, right? So we do have to be careful about that. If you did see this give you a big pop up, we really need this money flow, not only on the weekly, but all these other lower daily time frames to really start scooting back to the upside. So like my base case here is you got to be cautious. Maybe that green dot gives you the push up. Even look at the weekly green dots here. Money flow crosses into the red right here. You get a big drop down. Green dot prints on the weekly, right? Remember, ebb or flow to the upside, but if that money flow is in the red, which it very much was, you're looking for lower highs and lower lows, right? We only needed really one more lower low there. So just to give you like my, this is where it all comes from, right? Money flow is definitely still coming out, but hey, could still indicate some short-term relief here. But we'll see. Hopefully FOMC doesn't just nuke us down, right? Definitely a possibility there with all the high time frame money flow coming out. Let's see. Shout out to Panda the Prophet, said Frankie Saber going to $1 million so we could get some likes on the stream. Guys, we'll see if it works. We'll see if it works. This is next. Smash the like button. No, I'm just kidding. I can't just call for that. But of course, yeah. I know we'll get less likes if we say price is going down, right? But I am technically saying price is going to go up. It's just overall, right? We have to, I look back to the previous cycles, guys. It's like people did not like this either. Likes were down on the channel. Views were down on the channel. Nobody really cared. No one wanted to hear it was going to go down. But thank God, I was just paying attention to the charts. And of course, right, I'm not just saying you have to go down. You're an idiot if you're looking for new all-time highs. I would never say that, right? But as soon as I see a real reason to flip and start looking for new all-time highs, then we can do that. But we need to see that happen. If it's an if this, then that, right? People will say, well, can we go to new all-time highs from here, right? Well, the answer to that is technically, I can't say it's impossible, right? But, there's no reason for me to look for that when I know that every other cycle we've been unable to get back above that 50-week moving average, right? So it's not until we flip that where I can start to entertain that idea. And even then, right, the real target would be 116K. Yes, the probability of new all-time highs becomes a little bit more higher probability, but you still have massive resistance up here at the value area high, also confluent with your macro 786 Fibonacci retracement. Once we get above there, there's really nothing else to look at other than these MPOCs, but that would invalidate if we don't get the lower high here, right? Flipping above this would invalidate the idea of the lower high, and we could start talking about new all-time highs. But we're just not there yet, right? Hopefully soon we have a live stream where we can actually call for that. So hopefully we can come up and play with this. Can't even guarantee it's going to happen now. Maybe we got to come down first and then go test it, right? How long? Let me see something here. How long did this take, right? Once we lost this, right? We'll say like right here. Once that 2-week candle started, or the first of the 2 weeks started, 91 days. Not that it has to be the same. But let's see here. 91 days. Yeah. It could be some time, right? Like there's no saying that we can't come down first and then wiggle our way up there, right? It could still take some time. So yeah, but if we do wind up breaking the lows here, right, you have the weekly MPOC at 78,550. We'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. And again, I will be looking for that 2-day bullish divergence, right? We're obviously struggling here, guys. Like, I wish we weren't, but if that does happen, I'll be looking down here, right? Because, of course, right, once you wind up breaking down out of these local levels, you're losing the macro 786, right? At that point, you would even anticipate breaking 75K, right? I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, right? Like we could pull up every scenario that could play out. It's not really helpful, right? We just know the key levels and we're going to wait to come up to them. And it's like yesterday, right? It's like, well, guys, we have local resistance here. Like we could reject there, but we also could go up there, right? Like you don't have to look at it like that. You could just say, I'm going to set my key levels, which is obviously first level here. Already scalp shorted that. Is that scalp shorted that? Is that a thing? And then it's like, I can't guarantee you're going to come up here, right? But it's not going to stop us from catching those shorts from up there, right? So it's if this, then that. If this, right, beep, 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 trading view alert goes off. Do I have the confirmations? Of course you did here with the SFP, right? You swing fail it, you get back into the range, right? So we'll see. If we could see these single prints fill in real time, and it does it like we would expect, right? Again, you get accepted into those single prints, very similar to the low volume gap situation. Could be a fast drop down. If we see that fill very quickly, that'd be a great learning opportunity for the Mafia, right? We already had the first single prints fill, right? Like in the most like perfect fashion. Come on down to the 1 minute. Like, hey guys, starting to drop into these single prints. If we get accepted, could be a fast drop down. You get in, bearish retest, straight down. Could be the same thing back here. Right now we're holding it as support though. So come on, don't break in there. Don't break in there. All right. And we will take a look at some of the altcoins as well, guys. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the altcoins as I really have been kind of not really spending a ton of time on them recently. But let's see. What about the 80K lows? What about them? Like this low right here. I would say the line in the sand to come take out this low is really going to be like at the end of the day, guys, right? We talked about this yesterday. Like maybe we just continue to range around here, right? Even if we lose the POC, right? You could bounce off the value area low, back to the POC, back to the high, right? You could range around in this a little bit. This is why I love the volume profiles, right? Because it's like, even if you don't get the move up to your bigger level, it's like you still have opportunities to look for trades within the profile. Same thing here. We had this big key level up here on the first approach of that local value area high, right? And I do like this for some bigger short opportunities, but that doesn't mean that when you come up to some local levels with your bearish confirmations that you can't look for acceptance back into the range, high probability move into the POC, lose the POC, head towards the low. And of course we did front run the low, but obviously that's why we look at it as a zone, right? We knew we had that golden pocket sitting there. And what happens? Price gets magnetically sucked down there. Perfect. Same exact situation as here. Front run the level, magnetic, suction to the daily MPOC, push it to the upside. Magnetic, suction to the golden pocket, push it to the upside. So local volume profile, still value area high, 93,545. POC sitting at 91.4. Value area low sitting at 86,690. Right? Let me turn this blue. Right? So you can screenshot these levels and get them on your chart. You do have a little bit of confluence there on the bottom of your golden pocket, or, you know, I would just keep this zone like this, right? Top of the golden pocket's tapped, so you could technically pull it down to the bottom where you have your weekly and daily MPOCs, value area low, 786. Once we lose this, I'll be honest, right? Like, unless we come down, right, definitely opportunities to look for the bounce back up through your range. But once we start losing that 786, guys, what is very close to this level, right? Well, we just showed it, right? It's the macro. I'll zoom back in a second. Let me just pull this fib. Come on. Right, really close to that level is the macro 786, right? So, like, once we lose the local 786, you're looking to take out this low. Once we lose the macro 786, sitting at about 85.5, you know, at that point, I'm looking to take out this low right here, right? $80,500. So when you talk about the 80K lows, I would say the line in the sand to see a visit of that low is going to be the loss of this range, essentially, right? And you look down towards the MPOC at 78,550, where we can look for the 2-day bullish divergence, right? Not just given the key levels, also given the macro signals that you could see that bounce off of. All right, let's see. Can we take a look at Sui? Yeah, we'll try to take a look at Sui. Shout out to Riley. Solana to 130. There are billions in liquidity sitting there. We'll take a look at Solana. Obviously, Ethereum also sitting at our key target here. Did I cover this in the market update? I don't remember. I think I might have cut it. It was a little too long. But obviously, guys, very similar situation here on Ethereum, right? We were hoping to hold on top of that macro value area low, golden pocket confluence. We were playing around on that low Friday or near that low, right? We front ran it. What do I always say? Front run the level, right? You don't have any bullish divergences, nothing like that. I always prefer in that case to see an eventual visit of that golden pocket. And again, literally almost like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like they just need to go tap the level, right? Like you can see how pinpoint accurate that golden pocket is. Sucks you down there. And now what do you have? Now you have lower lows on your price action. Now you have higher lows on your momentum wave. So you actually have a bullish divergence. And because that is a golden pocket, it does give you the opportunity to put in the low, the high. You can look for the higher low and the higher high, targeting our next major zone here on Ethereum, which was sitting between 3260 and 3435. And where are we sitting right now, guys? Very interesting, right? It's almost like technical analysis is not astrology for crypto pros. I love that. But anyway, you know, as of right now, right, we're just playing around with that POC. You know, also based off the volume profiles, flip the value area low. Next likely place for price to go is into that POC. It is not by accident that you get the push into the POC and you're starting to see turbulence there, right? So I would say the next level to break out for Ethereum is you're going to have to get above that 786, hold it as support, and then we can start to look at this higher target around 3658 into about $3,700 at your golden pocket. This anchored VWAP might be perfectly confluent there. This anchored VWAP is pulled from the all-time high, right? Yeah, pulled from the all-time high. Barely an all-time high, but still an all-time high nonetheless. So definitely a major level there, right? When we look at the anchored VWAPs, this could indicate, right? Flipping this level could indicate a macro trend change, very similar to the 50-week moving average on Bitcoin. Right, I don't really look at the 50-week on Ethereum. It's more of a Bitcoin thing for me personally. But you know, if we get stuck underneath here, right, it could continue that big downtrend. But on the flip side of that, if you flip it, could indicate a macro trend change, right? We looked at this on Bitcoin just to show you guys kind of how that works. If you watch my anchored VWAP tutorial, if you haven't watched that, definitely go check it out. Many ways you could use the anchored VWAP. You can use it to help you find sniper entries into your trades, or you could also use it to identify macro trend changes. And I believe that video was made somewhere around here. And it was kind of the same thing, right? It was like this massive anchored VWAP from the all-time high was going to be the level we needed to flip in order to see a macro trend change, right? You have high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? And then once you approach and you flip that anchored VWAP, it could indicate a macro trend change. And it was indeed the case, right? And you could, if I zoom in here, you can see, get above it, flip it to support, and you get the higher lows and the higher highs into your new all-time highs. And of course, we did have this volume profile helping us with the context there, which was holding that value area low, which at the time was confluent with your anchored VWAP. Once you flip the value area low, next place for price to go is going to be the POC. And just look at the beautiful push into that POC. Little rejection. Money flows in the green. You're looking for higher lows and higher highs. Next target becomes your value area high, right? Volume profiles will change your life, guys. I promise you that, right? Look at that. It's like magic. Flip the low straight to the POC, almost, right? You obviously chop around a lot, right? Higher low, money flows in the green. Higher low, higher high. Next target becomes the value area high. And then, of course, once you break out of that, you could put in new all-time highs. So same thing there on Ethereum, right? The whole reason I bring this up is because that anchored VWAP does remind me a lot of that anchored VWAP on Bitcoin, right? Flip that value area low. Flip the anchored VWAP. You know, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're not really getting accepted into your upper range, which, by the way, the upper range sits all the way up here, right? But it would be nice, right? It could indicate that macro trend change. But until that happens, could eventually reject it, right? So you got all eyes on this level. It's currently, I think once we get up there, if we can get up there, it'll probably be sitting around 36.68. So there you go. Money flow almost looks exactly the same as Bitcoin. 10-hour money flow crossover. Weekly green dot printing. That would be good for a bigger retracement. And then, of course, your 8-hour money flow is also trying to cross into the green. Hopefully, we could keep this money flow going, guys. I kind of hate that FOMC is tomorrow. Yeah, because it could just add volatility and a little bit of confusion. But hopefully we can just keep this money flow in the green, and we can expect higher lows and higher highs. All right, it wouldn't be until we started losing the 786 at 28.28 that I would be looking for a break of the lows. Right, so there's your line in the sand. Ideally, you put in a higher low and a higher high. But if you come down and test this, right, you don't want to lose that level. That would call for more downside and more specifically, probably a break of these lows. So there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on Ethereum. We can do a quick check-in on Bitcoin dominance for those of you who are interested. Still just rejecting our major level. Not a huge update there either, right? I just we're just kind of in that situation where it's like just so repetitive, right? It's just like nothing really going on. But at the end of the day, we still have the high time frame money flow coming out. Now, I say this every single live stream. This does show high time frame weakness. I don't think, unfortunately, I hate to be this guy. We like to get likes on the stream. I know this is not going to bring likes to the stream. But at the end of the day, I just got to say what I see on the charts, right? We got to keep it transparent. You guys are never going to get FOMO BS from me, right? It's only going to be information database analysis. We benefit from that a lot because more often than not, the data is going to be correct. We could see this drop to the downside. I do think you could see the altcoins start to perform really well, especially if that's happening as we're getting a bigger retracement on Bitcoin and Ethereum, which could be being indicated by the 8 and the 10-hour money flow coming up. But I just don't think, right, personally right now, I don't think it's going to be the God tier alt season everybody's hoping for. I think it's going to be more of a rotational alt season. Unless we see the masses come in and the money printers turn on, that might change it. But until then, I just don't know. Maybe you see some coins make all-time highs, but I just think it's going to be a little lackluster, right? We've seen alt seasons, right, or some form of an alt season on retracements on Bitcoin. It doesn't always have to be Bitcoin flying into new all-time highs, but all the face-melting God-tier alt seasons have happened pretty much when Bitcoin's screaming up, right? But not possible to get some form of an alt season. But I want to be clear. I wouldn't be expecting it to be insane, right? Some coins will do better than others. Obviously, some will put in new all-time highs, maybe. But I would just be like, not screaming, oh my God, get ready, alt season is here, right? Like the alt season everybody's hoping for. I hope it turns out to be that, right? No, I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. It's just hard for me to call, right? We don't have a lot of confluence here, right? Sure, you have the dominance coming down, but you don't have massive retail interest. You don't have all the stuff that we really want to see for those God tier alt seasons. And that's just the fact of the matter, guys, right? That's just, the situation that we're in. And, I don't trade off of hopes and dreams, right? I trade off of the charts. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we see something different play out. DK Insight said 62K ETH at the end of 2025. Shout out to DK Inside. I don't know if I understand that. I think he's making a joke. I don't know if I understand the joke, but yeah, eat the 62K, guys. Shout out to DK Insight. Thanks for your integrity, Frankie. You're the real deal. Shout out to Tim. I appreciate you, brother. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't even think it's, I appreciate that. I just wouldn't be able to sleep at night just like thinking, like with what I know about the charts, right? With what I know about technical analysis, with what I've seen play out in my experience, basing all my decisions based off this information, I just can't. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, why would I just call for what I know people want to hear? I care. I want to grow the YouTube channel. I want likes. I want subscribers, right? And I just don't. I don't know. I just can't sit up here and just tell people what they want to hear if it's not what I genuinely think. But what I can say is, I hope the TA is wrong, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. But, we'll see, right? Once I see that 50-week moving average flip, I'll feel a little bit better about a bigger push-up, right? But until that happens, we got to be cautiously optimistic. I mean, just pull the fractals, guys. It's not I have a little illustration up here of what an SFP is supposed to look like. Let me delete that. But right, like you just pull this fractal, right? It's like, we are definitely, this is definitely rhyming with the previous cycles, right? We can't ignore this, right? Like timing wise, the current top, right, has come in almost on the exact day, right? And, it's not that it has to be exactly the same, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like if you see this play out, it's almost been exactly the same, right? Big drop down, liquidation, lower high, lower low, money flow is coming out on the higher time frames. Come on, right? 3-day money flow comes out. Your 2-day money flow was crossing into the red, right? So you're looking for lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. No one wanted to hear this either, right? But like the chart just wound up playing out. So I'm just never gonna, I just want to blow smoke up everyone's arse for no reason, right? So it is what it is. But again, this won't last forever. Hopefully we don't have to see the traditional 70% correction come in. Again, a little too soon for me to call for, where the bottom would come in. But maybe we chop around here, right? Maybe we just chop around a little bit before going back up to that 50-week moving average. That would be if it was going to play out exactly like it did last cycle, which I wouldn't necessarily expect either, right? Like, let's just be honest. But I pull it up on the, okay, there we go. So there you go, right? Maybe we kind of chop around. Like, I just don't know when we're going to push up there. And if we are, right? There's no guarantee you have to, right? We could just capitulate down. Who knows? So we'll just take it level by level. We've been pretty spot on here, right? Like a warning at 108, the loss of 108K, right? Like not looking good, guys. Like definitely going to be at least a continuation down to 91 to 92K. We got that, right? We're kind of sitting there right now. So there you go. Solana. Yeah, we could take a look at Solana. Shout out to Connor, said, Frank, I was wondering how you know where to pull your volume profiles to the current candle or leave it where you initially pulled it. This is a hard question to answer, right? The way I do it, there's really no right or wrong answer. For me personally, right, I use the volume profiles, and I'm sorry for this being repetitive for other people, but we always have new people coming on the channel. I have to explain it. I use the volume profiles to identify the balanced areas on the chart, right? AKA ranges, right? So I just pull them over the ranges. And it's not that you can't pull your volume profile, right? So for this volume profile back here, I would basically just select that range, right? Let's grab it from here, pull it to before the breakdown, or even right on the breakdown. It wouldn't really change it that much. You have the high, deviation above, back to the PLC, back to the low, back to the high, back to the low, deviation above, back to the PLC, back to the low. This is the bread and butter of our strategy, just getting those high probability moves from the high to fill the range, from the low to fill the range, from the high to fill the range, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why would I personally not pull my profile? Let's say we were sitting down here. Like, why would I not personally pull my profile to here? Well, now I'm not identifying the balanced area on price, right? Now it's taking in the calculation of all these imbalanced candles, right? This is balance in the market, right? This is imbalance, right? Price ranges about 80% of the time. The rest of the time, it's impulsing or trending, essentially. So when I identify the balanced areas, right, I'm only going to identify the balanced areas. I don't want to include this price action, right? So is it wrong to pull your volume profile like this? Well, I can't really say it's wrong, right? Because all this tool is doing is identifying the volume traded at each price, and then the value area shows you where 70% of that volume was traded. But you can even see here, if I pull it down here, you don't have the clean range, right? It's just like you're floating around here. Is this level still going to be valid? Well, of course, right? Because it's based off volume. So it's not just a random line on the chart. You could still look at this, flip at this level as a key level. But the way I personally use them is I just select the ranging price action, right? The balanced areas of price. I do not include the imbalance. Now down here, you have a little bit of a range, right? So you can accept, or you could say to yourself, well, here's another, volume profile. Right? So it looks a little weird because I'm on a high time frame. But what I would not pull this like is I would not pull it over the imbalance, right? I only want to select the balanced price. I would not, this is imbalance. I do not want to select that because it messes up marking out that area of balance. So it doesn't mean that you can't extend it. It's just, that's why I personally don't extend it, right? I like to look at this as one range, right, or one balanced area, and then I would just look at this as a second balanced area, right? And then I know when price imbalances, right, or impulses, right, come on, balance, imbalance, right? Then we find balance again, and I can say, well, once we break out of here, auction market theory would state once you come out of an area of balance, price is going to seek the next area of fair value. These value areas are considered fair value, right? So you have buyers and sellers agreeing on a fair price here, right? What does that mean, Frankie, fair value? What does it mean buyers and sellers agree? Well, all it's saying is this is the accepted value, right? When we come into the value area high, this is telling us that price is overvalued, and they send it back down to the POC, which is the fairest price, and then back down to the value area low. This is now undervalued. You go back up to the high. This is now overvalued, back down to the low. And then, of course, you're not going to range around forever. You eventually break it. You can look at this level to reclaim, go to the POC, go to the value area high again. Once I impulse out of here, I'm going to say, what next, right? What next? Maybe I'll make a video about auction market theory. I think it's important. Once I imbalance out of here, what is price going to do? It's going to seek out fair value. Where's the next fair value? If we start cooking out here, price is going to seek out the next area of fair value. This range stops here. I stop pulling the profile right here. This is marking out the value area, right? Once we get back in here, we're seeking out fair value. Guess what? Up to the POC, up to the value area high. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's not a tutorial live stream, but hopefully that, probably weren't expecting that detailed of an answer, but hopefully it helps you out. I also have a tutorial on the channel showing you guys exactly how to use these volume profiles. Not only where to pull them from, how to pull them, how I personally use them, but how to trade them, right? How to use them to your advantage to find high probability trades. And just one more thing here, guys. Even on our local profile here, right, that we've been looking at, you don't even have to, right? This is part of the reason why I love the volume profiles, right? What happens? Whew, trading view struggling today. You come up to the value area high, shorts at the highs, longs at the lows, right? You come up here, overvalued price, you get your bearish confirmations, right? Back into the range. At this point, you're accepted back into value. High probability of a move to the POC. This could be your take profit one, stop loss to break even, locking in a guaranteed winning trade. And then you could say to yourself, once we lose the POC, we could start heading down towards that value area low. But you'll notice here, you did not make it down to your value area low. It's sitting right down here. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? More often than not, you will see the full fill of the range. But at that point, right, you've already got a TP1 locked in at the POC, and you still have plenty of room to take some profit here. If you know that golden pocket is sitting above the point of control, and you know that your 4-hour money flow is coming up into the green, and you could put in a higher low for a higher high, you might say to yourself, well, hey, in this particular case, in this particular context, maybe we don't fill the volume profile in full, right? And you could take a little more profit. And even if you didn't, right, you would just stop out in profit, continuing to just win that trade, right? Even though you got stopped out, doesn't mean you'll lose money, right? You can actually make money when you get stopped out. One of the most important things I think people can learn as a trader, right? You don't always, price isn't always going to have to hit your target as high probability as it can be. Context is always going to be important. Why would you expect a higher low here? Well, we had some of our higher time frame money flow or medium time frame money flow coming into the green, right? Your 5-hour, and I guess it was kind of choppy there, but you had this medium time frame money flow continuing up, right? So if you're anticipating a crossover into the green, you could say, well, hey, golden pocket's an area where you could put that higher low in. We have money flow attempting to come out or come up into the green. That could indicate a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. But even if you didn't, right? Even if you just took profit here, had your stop loss to break even, even if you turn around at the POC, right? You're still going to make a winning. Still going to take a winning trade, growing your P&L. Right? Not just praying, taking the shot here with no stop loss, whole account on the trade, just praying for the value area low. If it doesn't get hit, you're going to lose money, right? You'll still get stopped out in small profit, and your P&L will tick up. Instead of taking the trade, hoping for it to go to your target and not having a stop loss, and then you just nuke your entire account. So anyway, so just a little sauce on why I love the volume profiles. All right, let's continue on here. I'll take a look at Solana. We'll take a look at some of the altcoins here. Shout out to Tactical PE. It doesn't show the rest of the name there, but shout out to Tactical. Thank you for the super chat. Said, I'm new to trading. If I'm in a loss for a short, is it best to hold the short if price is going to end up coming down? Shout out to Tactical. There's a million questions I would need to ask to actually guide you on that. I'm also not a financial advisor, so it's going to be really hard to... It's going to be really hard to just, I just can't tell you what to do or what to do with your trade. But personally, it really depends on the situation, right? There's a lot of context that comes into play there. what is your plan for the trade, right? If you're in the red on a short, have you hit your invalidation, right? So let's, for example, say I'm looking to take an SFP here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, or you don't know about like, I don't really have a plan, I didn't even know I needed a plan. If you're saying that, that's totally fine. Typical for a beginner. It's not a big deal. But you probably want to start, just learning a little bit more before you start firing, right? But let's just say I take a swing failure pattern trade here. What would the invalidation for this trade be, right? Well, I'm looking for the wick above, the candle closure down below. I have tutorials on this to teach you guys how to trade SFPs. But let's just say your plan here was to take the short above the high. You get bearish divergences. You have the SFP. If you take it off the SFP, I use this example because the SFP stop losses are very kind of like defined, right? The stop loss would be somewhere above that SFP wick, right? If I wick back above that wick. If I push back above that wick, it invalidates the SFP. I'm expecting price to continue up. I was wrong on my, the trade's not invalidated. I want to get out. I'm expecting the continuation up, right? So if you're in drawdown, right, let's just say you take a short here and you're up here and you're in the red, right? Well, should you close the trade? I don't know where you took the trade. I don't know what you took the trade off of. I don't know where your invalidation is, but you want to have the preset invalidation, right? Your stop loss should not be set based off of the percentage here, right? It should be set off the invalidation of the trade. And then whatever your percentage here is, you would use that to calculate your position size, right? I have a video on this as well, right? Free trading course here on the YouTube channel, guys, 100% free. Watch the beginner series from top to bottom. You'll expedite your learning process infinitely. So for me personally, right, if I would say if I were taking a short and I was in drawdown, I wouldn't just close the trade until I hit my invalidation, right? So you should have your stop loss set at your invalidation, and the only time you should get out of that trade is if that invalidation is hit. So now if price is past your invalidation and now you're just stuck in a bad short, well, that was a problem with the original plan, which again is totally fine, expected from a new trader. So don't feel bad about that. You said you were a beginner, so it's not shocking. It's not a bad thing. It's part of the learning process. But if you're just stuck in a bad trade, you don't know where your invalidation is, in my opinion, it's pretty dangerous to just kind of hold on to the short and hope it goes back down, right? Because if you're wrong, you're going to get even more stuck and more stuck. It's going to be harder for you to close that trade in a bigger loss, and you could just eventually hold it to liquidation, which is not what you want to do. So you have to have a plan and then follow the plan. So if you do have an invalidation, right, well, then just hold it till you get invalidated, right? And then just stop out, accept that you were going to take a loss on that trade. You can't win every single trade. Nobody does. I don't win every single trade. I lose trades too. But when I lose a trade, it's because the trade gets invalidated, right? Hopefully that helps you out, brother. But check out the channel. If you have not already, subscribe. Check out the beginner series. It's literally like a free beginner trading course. Let's see. Frankie, thank you for the super chat. Master Kuzi says, Frankie, do you bounce between log and non-log fibs or just stick to the one or the other? I find they can both be respected at times. So tricky. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of subjectivity in trading, right? You also have to understand that. Like people always ask me where to pull the fib from, right? It's like, well, you would want to pull your resistance. When you're looking for resistance, you want to pull from high to low, right? That's very important. I would never do that the opposite way. That would be wrong. But if you want resistance, you're pulling from a high to a low. Well, if you pull from the absolute high to the absolute low, right, is this a valid fib? Yes. But if I were to pull it from the lower, if I were to pull it from, say, this lower high to the low, is that wrong? No, right? It's just a more local fib. And you can see this local fib is the one that we ended up, Golden Pocket gave us a little rejection, right? So between log and non-log, I'd say 1% of the time, it doesn't really change the fib that much. Like you could see in the background here, you could see that fib barely moving. So it doesn't, in my opinion, it's not really a big deal. So I very rarely switch between them. So there you go. But again, I don't think it's going to make like the biggest difference. Sometimes if you see a fib barely front ran, you come in here and you go from non-log to log, you'd be like, okay. But you can see it doesn't really change it too much. So hopefully that helps you out. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you. All right, let's see. I will always pull my fib from the same place. Am I weird? Shout out to the real K Diggity. It depends on what fib you're talking about. I always pull my fib in privacy of my own home, I'll say. Anyway, let's continue on. All right, let's take a quick look at Solana here, guys. Take a sip of the Aztecian Cactus Moss Water so I don't fall asleep here. Still bing-bonging around here, guys. Same thing as yesterday. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on the alts. I think a lot of people, when they ask me to look at an altcoin, they're just like waiting for me to be like, the golden signal alt season. I just don't see that anywhere, right? Unless we get the retracement alt season, which is possible, it's like, it's all like pretty much going to follow Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? Now, Solana, right? We've been bing-bonging around between this. Well, let me take a higher time frame view, right? So we have our macro value area. Let me hide this. Whoops. We have our macro volume profile, hide the anchored VWAP, right? So we got the acceptance into the value area high, right? Just like on the lower time frames, you deviate above the high. Once you get accepted into this range, you look to go back down towards the POC. It's a little wonky here because we have that big liquidation wick, but eventually we get the move, get accepted into the range. At that point, right, you can't get out. You're looking to go down to the POC. Money flow is doing what? It's crossing into the red. We use money flow as a filter to let us know whether we're going to be looking to fade the highs or if we're looking for gigalongs for new all-time highs. Now, obviously, in this case, just like Bitcoin and everything else, money flow is coming out. You're back inside your profile. You know the fill of this range is going to be high probability, especially when you have the high time frame money flow coming out. You had the daily money flow. The 2-day money flow comes out. Pull up the daily as well, right? Daily money flow is in the red. And you don't have to wait for the crossover, right? You could see this is generally trending to the downside. So this is why I love money flow. You get the trending nature of it, right? This is obviously making lower highs and trending out. So you can anticipate that with this money flow coming out, right, even before the crossover, I'll even come into bar replay mode to make it, even more understandable, right? Wow, TradingView really struggling today, right? So you're already accepted into your profile at this point, right? You get the big liquidation wick. You could have the fill the wick situation, but at the end of the day, you're saying to yourself, what is money flow doing? It's trending to the downside on the daily. We're below the value area high. This is acceptance into the range, right? That money flow makes me think that the trend will continue down, right? Meaning any bounces I get are going to be lower highs and lower lows, especially if that money flow continues out into the red. Now, obviously, we know this because I just went back in time. We know that money flow crosses into the red, right? So any of those bounces, lackluster, lower high, lower low, right? Lackluster, lower high, lower low. And you're also in the back of your head thinking, well, hey, I know the move from the value area high to the POC, lose the POC, move to the low is a high probability of rotation, especially with that money flow coming out. There's every expectation to come down to that low, right? So eventually, obviously, we get down here. So just a little context there. We've now filled the range in full. Of course, this is not a place where I would look for fresh shorts, right? Not that you can't fade the highs, but I'm never, seeing price dump down and looking for shorts. I need those retracements. Now, when we look at our money flow now, well, hey, maybe that daily money flow is trying to come up, right? It's not enough for me to say it's like a clean trend, but maybe that's the bottom of the money flow wave. We're going to come down a couple time frames here. 12-hour money flow starting to trend to the upside, putting in higher lows. 10-hour money flow is crossed over into the green as you're at support, right? So the hope here is that you can remain above your key level, which is the value area low. Longs at the lows, shorts at the highs. I'm not saying you should long right here, but that's support. Support, resistance, very simple, right? With the magic of the magnetic powers of the volume profile. So we knew, right, once we came down here, next target to the upside would be the POC, because if you hold the low, next target's the POC, high probability target. Even here, bounce off the low, you almost tap that POC, you come back down, you tap the POC. We're just bing-bonging around here between the value area low and the POC. Very clear level to flip. You have to flip 145.54 in order to come up to your bigger targets. Now I have to undo everything I just did, because I can't go back far enough. Dang. But if we pull up some of our other, at the end of the day, right, of course, if you flip the POC, technically the doorway to the value area high is open at 204. Maybe we can get the squeeze up there, but it's not going to be my base case right now, right? And why is that? Well, we have a bunch of resistance ahead of us, right? Let me see if I can pull this stuff up. I think I already have it on the chart here. Maybe not. There we go, right? So we got one level there, anchored VWAP, right? So you're coming up to some resistance. If we flip that POC, I'm going to be looking for the first stop to be between 152.37 and 161.03. Could get the rejection. If you could flip the POC to support and break that 786 at $161, well, then we could continue up through the profile. And of course, we're going to have other levels of resistance in here, but overall long-term, right? Sometimes it's a messy journey through the profile. You can get rejections back down to the POC, kind of bing-bong around, but eventually that final target would be the value area high. The reason I'm not just saying this is clean, hold the low, flip the POC, go to the high, right? The reason for that is because when we look at our high time frame money flow, look at the crossover here. Right? Look at that crossover. I don't like it, right? This indicates a potential macro lower high and lower low. Where are those lower highs and lower lows likely to come in at? Well, we look at our local fibs here. This is, again, a very local level. But if I take that off the chart and we pull the significant Fibonacci retracements, I'm going to pull it from the high to the low. Clearly, you have resistance confluent with your value area high of the range. Right? And then the only other real significant fib I would pull is from this macro lower high to the low. Right? And that gives you a move up to about $170 to $186. I don't know if you're going to reject the hyper local fib, the one above that, or the one up here, right? It's an if this, then that situation, right? You mark off your key zones, and then as you push into the zone, you want to look for your confirmations, right? It's not until you get in here that you can say to yourself, what are the probabilities of a rejection? If money flow is coming up, I'm probably looking for a continuation. If money flow is coming out, looking like a lower high is going to form, well, I'm probably taking a short there. But there's no way to say that until you get up there. But from a high time frame perspective, I would say the next big key level, just to keep it simple, $152 at the anchored VWAP. It's kind of confluent with the POC, especially if you push up. It's probably going to come more confluent. Once you're able to flip that, you can look for the bigger push up, eventually targeting the value area high. But just understand you can get pulled back from some of these fibs. Why? Because the money flow is coming out. Right? If I had money flow coming up here, it would be a super confident rotation of that volume profile. Right? Like even come on down to the 2-day. Right? Well, yeah, 2 days kind of bing-bonging around here. Back in the red. But if we had a nice red wave here on the 2-day, right, on this whole trend down, which we obviously don't have, but if say the downtrend continues on a big money flow wave, and then as we start finding support on the bottom, that 2-day money flow is crossing into the green, well, then what am I expecting? Higher lows, higher highs for a very high probability fill, but we clearly don't have that, right? Money flow is coming out. So is it impossible to fill the whole range? No. Is it impossible? No. But I'm definitely going to be cautious on those local levels. I have to be, right? I have to be because of that money flow. So just to be clear. Let's see. Shout out to Mr. B said, great stuff, Frankie the GOAT. Shout out to Mr. B. I appreciate you, brother. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, we'll take a look at Link. I'll take a look at Cardano. Some people asking about Cardano. Yeah, shout out to Seek Parabolic. Hopefully the lesson learned is take small profits until a home run is clearly visible. Yeah, to be honest, right? Like every time I get a big home run trade, now I did not take this long on Solana, but let's just pretend, guys. Let's just pretend I took a trade here and it wound up giving the massive move up, right? Well, here's a perfect example. Here's the 2-day money flow, right? Like this is almost the exact thing I just explained here. Why would I look at this to be a massively high probability rotation into the value area high? Look at your money flow. It's insane, right? You have your acceptance into the range. You know there's a high probability, even if you're not looking at Market Cipher, right? You already know. You're getting accepted in. There's a possibility you're going to go to the POC and then eventually the value area low. There's volatility, right? You wicked all the way back up here, then all the way back down, but at the end of the day, you're expecting that to fill in full. On top of that, you had your money flow crossover into the red. Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Lower highs, lower lows, right? You deviate below the low, showing that the asset is cheap. You have bullish, big 2-day bullish divergences, lower lows on your price action into key support. I believe there was a weekly naked point of control back here, if I remember that correctly. Total nerd if that's correct, but whatever. It is what it is, right? You're born the way you're born. But you get the massive 2-day bullish divergence. Luckily, we're nerds that, our nerdiness can make us money, which is, I think, the best kind of nerd to be. But you get massive bullish divergences, massive confirmation down here, right? And then once you get accepted into your range, look at your money flow starting to trend to the upside. This makes it a high probability for macro, higher lows, and higher highs, targeting the value area high. Money flow still in the green, higher lows, higher highs. You get accepted back into the range. Your money flow comes out once again, right? You're looking for continuations down. The problem here is, like back here, we don't have the massive red money flow wave looking to cross over into the green for the full fill. We're just starting to get the crossover into the red, which makes me a little suspicious of the high confidence fill. Sure, the volume profile could call for it, but again, every situation is different. The context is the most important thing. So that's why I'm more cautious here than I would have been here, right? And of course, on lower time frames, lower than the 2-day, right? You probably got those money flow crossovers much earlier, right? Like here on the daily. Get above the low, PLC's high probability. At this point, your money flow is coming up. You can expect overall higher lows and higher highs. And then you look at the 2-day and you say, what's happening now? Oh, well, now the 2-day money flow is trending up. So even if we get a big correction, as long as we hold on top of this value area low, we can look for macro, low, high, higher low, higher high, assisting in that assumption that you'll see that volume profile fill in full. We're just in a different situation here. Not all volume profiles will be created equal. Another thing down here that we don't have is the massive 2-day bullish divergences, right? So a few things that we don't have there. So there you go. Little education, little Solana TA. So watch those key levels. Next zone is going to be sitting between 145.72 to 152.34. All right, let's continue on here. Let's see. Shout out to Lasers Go Pew Pew, says it's a candle that never comes back to that price equals single print. Oh, did somebody ask what single prints are? It's like sometimes I bring it up on the channel. I talk about this a lot more in the premium Discord. It's a little bit more of like an advanced type of technique. It's very similar to a low volume gap, right? We talk about the low volume gaps all the time, right? When you look at the volume profile, whether you're looking at the visible range, the fixed range, high volume nodes act as a magnet for price. Low volume nodes do not hold price up or or it doesn't hold price up or down very well, right? You just kind of fly through those gaps. So a single print is kind of the same thing, just to kind of like show you guys. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'll just show it on Exo charts really quickly. So I'm not going to go into super detail here, but when we look at this, right, here's your single prints, right? These are the single prints I have marked off on the Bitcoin chart. If you get accepted in here, right, single prints are, I'm not going to get into the whole TPO thing, to be honest. I don't want to confuse everybody, but this is similar to a volume profile, right? But instead of this signaling or indicating volume spikes, it's indicating the amount of time that you spend at that price. So you print these every 30 minutes. When you have single prints, it's when price spent less than 30 minutes, right? Or just one TPO's worth of time in that area, right? So you see it when you see price push up very quickly. Price does not spend a lot of time there, and it creates that kind of inefficiency, if that's what you want to call it. It's very much similar to a low volume gap, right? Like this looks like a volume profile. It behaves the same way. And the reason I was looking for that fast drop down through the first single prints, right? You could see here, it's kind of like a low volume gap, right? You come, you push through it very quickly. It's the same thing, right? If we were to get accepted in here, there's nothing holding you up. So you get those fast pushes down through the gap. So it's almost the same thing as a low volume gap. Don't overcomplicate it. Maybe I'll make a tutorial video on this, but I try to keep things more beginner friendly on the YouTube channel. But it's essentially like a low volume gap, right? On Bitcoin, we just recently looked at the low volume gap right here, indicating, right? I'll just pull this. I'll just pull this nice and clean to show you guys, right? You pull the volume gap. You pull the fixed range volume profile. Look at this gap here. I'll highlight it for you, right? High volume node acts as a magnet. High volume, price sticks to this, right? Low volume, price does not stick to that, right? Price typically flies through those zones, targeting the closest high volume node, right? So what happens? I'll come down to a lower time frame. Right, so what happens here? Price sticks to the high volume node. Once you break this level, we looked at this on the live stream saying, hey, if we lose this level, could be a fast drop down. It was actually over here. But what happens, right? You break in here or you break above it, fast move up, right? You bing bong around the high volume node. Once you lose that level, you break into the low volume gap, fast move down. You break down below, back into the low volume gap, fast move up, right? Fast move up, down, up. And once we break back in here, you get the fast move down, right? And then we tap that golden pocket, which held as support. And we get another fast move up through the gap, right? So it's the same. Single prints are very similar. They're just found on a TPO chart, not a volume profile. Or a TPO profile, not a volume profile. Same, very similar, though. Oftentimes where you see low volume gaps, you'll see single prints. I'll just say that. But anyway, let's take a quick look at Cardano. Bada boom, bada bang, here we are. All right, so yeah, we got the 4-hour bullish divergences down here. We talked about this recently. There's your key level of support given here on the live stream. You tap the POC, you get the move up, you push down, you get the bullish divergences, you get the bounce. Anchored VWAP was acting as support. We are now sitting above that level. If we can hold that anchored VWAP as support, could eventually, next target to the upside, in my opinion, would very likely be about 54 cents. Now, does this mean you're going to all-time highs? Not necessarily, right? When we look at the high time frames, 5-day money flow, I don't know what this is. 5-day money flow is in the red. 6-day money flow has recently crossed over into the red. What does this tell me? This tells me that the higher probability is lackluster bounces. There's your 6-day green dot. Even your weekly money flow has crossed over into the red. Weekly green dot could indicate a bounce to the upside. A weekly green dot would be bullish, right? But not as bullish as the money flow crossover would be bearish, right? If that makes sense. So green dot, bounce to the upside. You do have to be careful because not only are you inside your volume profile, as long as we live in this range, this would be the blueprint for price, right? Can't get out of the range, back to the POC. Eventually, when you lose the POC, you can look to go back down to that value area low. What would invalidate this, in my opinion, is number one, you got to get above the key level. Oh my God, guys, I've gotten 13 scam calls today. Whew. Time to change that phone number. Good Lord. But once we, in order to invalidate that, right, number one, you got to get above the value area high, right? Because if you're accepted inside this area, chances are you're going to fill it in full, right? To invalidate that, you have to get above this value area high. And of course, we do have the golden pocket 786 just above, so I would pay attention to this. Could be a lower high, only to get reaccepted into the range, back to the POC, back to the low. And the only reason I would look at this is because money flow is in the red, which would indicate high, low, lower high, lower low. Doesn't mean it has to happen, right? It's not 100%. These indicators can fake out, right? There's nothing about and no indicator you use. This is just to assist you in making an educated guess, essentially, right? I hate saying that when it comes to trading, but that's all it really is. You're not just gambling. You're not just randomly guessing. You're making educated guesses. It's like a meteorologist, right? Or a weatherman, right? When they say it's going to rain, sometimes they're like, it's going to pour. And then, it only, rains a little bit. It doesn't pour, right? Were they right about the rain? Yes. Were they spot on about it being a monsoon? No. But that's really all you need, right, to be on the right side of the trade. So, the expectation there based off the high time frame money flow, if this continues into the red, would be a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. Now, to invalidate that, of course, you got to get above the value area high. I would also pay attention to this Fibonacci retracement between 59 and 65 cents. I would say once you get out of this 786, you have an opportunity to get accepted back into this upper value, right? And then that could invalidate it. You would, of course, need to see this money flow cooking back into the green. But I can't just make decisions off that. I have to take the indicator at face value, which is, of course, bearish, right? Keeping you on the right side of the trend. If we get up here, we flip this, money flow comes up, that's the invalidation. But until then, that would be the expectation. So biggest key levels, 54 cents. And then if we can get up here into this Fibonacci retracement between about 59 and 65 cents. And if I go ahead and pull this, bada boom, bada bing, you can see that value area low is also confluent with that Fibonacci retracement. Could be a bearish retest. Right, so if you did come up, you could come all the way up here only to bearishly retest, get back into the range, and continue for the lower high. High, low, lower high, lower low. Once you break back in here with money flow coming up, well, now you could be accepted into your upper value, and then you can look for higher prices. But until that happens, the bias has to be something like this. The nice thing is it can change. And if it does, right, we'll look at the chart and we'll talk about it. So there you go. But again, just volume profiles, guys. It's they will change your life, as I say every single day. All right, let me pull chat back up here. Bada boom. All right, let's see. Get on the national do not call registry. Shout out to Mad Ads, bro. If you could let me know how to do that, maybe I'll Google that after. Bro, you need the extended warranty. Kick, I told you I don't need the extended warranty, bro. Please stop calling me. I'll give you the money for the extended warranty. Just don't give it to me. Just stop calling me. Shout out to Kick. Let's see. What do you do when money flow looks indecisive? Both ways for a period of time. Move to a different time frame. Shout out to Mr. B, dude. Exactly. It's exactly what I do. Lower time frames are going to oscillate quicker, right? For example, right? This is super choppy money flow, right? This is the 6-hour time frame. So, and at the end of the day, right? There is no indicator, right? Like I just said, there's no indicator that's going to be 100% right. There's no indicator that's going to say buy, and then you're just guaranteed going to win the trade. Like, it doesn't exist. I tried to look for this when I started my trading journey. Learn from my mistakes. It does not exist. Save your time. You will make money trading much faster when you just accept that that is a false reality that doesn't exist, no matter who tells you they have some magic indicator. Doesn't mean indicators can't be good, but they need to be pitched to people as tools to assist you in your educational educated guesses, right? Or just to help you in your informed decisions that you're going to make, right? They're not just going to tell you exactly what to do. And I know money flow is really good, right? Like, more often than not, it plays out. It's a great indicator, but it will never tell you when to buy or sell. You have to incorporate that into other forms of analysis and the context of the market structure, all this stuff. But you could see here, right? Like, this is... Actually, let's move it forward a little bit, right? Like, this is super choppy money flow. You're in the green. You're in the red. You're in the green, right? Super choppy. So what I like to do, like, this is the 6-hour time frame, still pretty decently high time frame, but when it looks choppy like that, the higher up you go, typically the smoother the money flow will be, right? It moves a lot slower. The high time frames are like cruise ships. They take a long time to move, a long time to turn. The lower time frames are kind of like speedboats. They kind of just woo, 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 right? So what you would do here, and I don't know if this is going to work, right? Sometimes you're just going to have choppy money flow, and it's a difficult trading environment. That just is what it is. But like, if I see this, right, I'm like, oh man, we're in the green, we're in the red, we're in the green, we're in the red. This is almost unidentifiable, right? It's like hard to get a bias based off this, right? So this is probably the problem you're running into. So what I would do is start creeping up your time frames. Let's see if the 8 hours any cleaner. Man, TradingView just getting cooked here. Speaking of getting cooked, I am getting cooked in this studio right now. It's hot AF right now. So, I mean, you just, even here, right, like, just kind of flat money flow. You come out, you tried to cross into the green, now you're back out. Still not really a clear sign. Let's come up to the 12-hour. Still kind of wonky, right? So let's go up a few time frames. Let's look at the 2-day. 2-day, still kind of wonky, right? Let's check the daily. So daily was a little bit cleaner, right? So the daily looked a little bit cleaner. You get the money flow crossover here. So, you know, at this point, right, you're looking at the 6-day, or I'm sorry, the 6 hour. It's like super choppy. Look at the daily. It's a little bit more smooth. And to be honest, right, in this case, a lot of these time frames look choppy. Even the 2-day, right? Just in the green, in the red, in the green, in the red. Like, really difficult decision, or difficult environment, right? Like, even the 3-day comes in. So sometimes you just have difficult money flow. But the higher up you go, right? Like, let's take a look at the 6-day. All right, so 6 days clearly trending out, right? So you could kind of smooth it out there. That's how I would do it. This is kind of a bad example because this was just super choppy. But that's kind of what I would do, right? The daily money flow direction is going to overpower, right? Like, you can see even the money flow on the daily tries to come back up, right? But it just winds up bleeding back into the red. This is where you see the up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down on the lower time frames. So typically, you scoot up to the higher time frames, it'll smooth it out. But, you know, I'm glad this was the case, right? Because sometimes it's just like you have a sketchy environment. It's hard to trade. There's going to be times where you have super easy trading environments where you're just like, boom, all the signals are here. It plays out. Boom, short it, plays out, right? You'll have good weeks, good months where you're just nailing every single trade. The analysis is super clear. But sometimes you just get into these wonky environments that are very difficult to trade. So that is also an outcome. All right, let's see. We took a look at Cardano. Yeah, shout out to Crypto. Crypto for gains. Extended warranty is a bigger scam than a rug pull. Absolutely. I agree with you there, brother. Scoot up to the higher time frames. Oh, God. Are we going to have a scoot emoji soon? But anyway, let's continue on here. Let's come back over to our current price action. So we took a look at Cardano. And you can see that daily money flow does indeed give you the lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So there you go, right? And another thing you could do is also, like, look at Bitcoin, right? Like, if you have choppy money flow on Solana, but maybe your Bitcoin money flow on the daily is super clean coming to the downside, I would probably lean on what Bitcoin's doing, right? Because obviously the altcoins will typically follow Bitcoin. All right, let's take a look. Shout out to Mr. B, said, thanks, good stuff. No problem, brother. No problem. I think, you know, sometimes it's just hard, right? Like, some people just want to be like, well, what happens when you get a really big mega wick and then FOMC's the next day and then money flows bing-bonging up and down? Like, what then? And it's like, well, then it's just like a difficult trading environment, right? You're not just always going to have these beautiful, easy trades to take. That's the reality of the situation. Doesn't stop you from making money, but sometimes that is just the answer to the question, right? Sometimes it's just more difficult than others. But yeah, let's take a look at Link. I see a couple of requests for Chainlink. All right, let me hide some of this, right? Like, let me hide these local levels just to give you guys a little simpler. I'm going to try not to cover every local level. You know, it's important for the trades, but it's like, I know it's just going to confuse a lot of people seeing all these intermediary levels, right? So obviously, at the end of the day, guys, you're inside the volume profile, right? An overall viewpoint would be we've still front ran this value area low, which does make me a bit suspicious of coming back down and tapping this, right? Doesn't mean you have to do that, but I showed this yesterday, right? You front run the value area low. You even get a push up pretty well above the PLC, bigger than we have gotten the push up here. And then eventually you just lose it, only to come back down and tap that key level, right? And here, you also had bullish divergences. Here, you did not tap the value area low, and you don't have bullish divergences. So, again, does it mean that you can't flip the POC and start cooking up towards your value area high? No, that's obviously possible, but it's hard for me to say it's a super high probability just because I don't have any of the real big signals down here. If I were looking for a long down here, to be quite honest, I would have missed the position, right? Because at the end of the day, I only take my positions when my key levels are get hit and I have the confirmations. None of that happened down here. So this would, sometimes price is just going to go without you, and that's okay, right? Make money on a different trade. Or just wait for your next key level for a setup to present. But, when I look at this, it's like I'd feel a lot more confident if we had that bull div into the value area low. We don't have any of that, right? But key level to hold here is going to be the POC at 1432, right? If you hold above that, could continue up, right? And then the next major target would be 2048 at the value area high. Nice and clean. But, of course, right, we have local resistance sitting right here. I won't pull all of this up. But you do have the golden pocket, daily MPOC. And I'll even just hide the 786 for now. The next target, if you hold the POC, would be to push up here to the anchored VWAP, daily naked point of control, and the golden pocket confluence, sitting between 1566 and 1648. So, even if you are going to fill this whole profile, if you're not paying attention to this level, you might get a pullback and be like, oh my God, what's happening, right? It's not always going to be a beautiful shot up, even on the way down, right? Oh my God, we front ran the POC. We're pumping. Look at your money flow in the red. You're looking for lower highs and lower lows. You're already accepted into your profile. You know that POC is high probability. You know the money flow is coming out. This is never a gig along, in my opinion. Sure, you could scalp it, right? But you have to identify it's a scalp to very likely get accepted into the range and push to the POC. So maybe we just don't fill this value area. It does make me a little suspicious. Just like back here, I'd be saying the same thing. I'd be like, I don't know. Like you even had the bull divs here on the daily, but it's like you front ran the value area low. You try to break out, and then eventually you wind up rejecting. What did you reject here? Golden pocket retracement, right? So maybe you see the same thing happen here, which is hilariously very close to that daily naked point of control. Not relevant, but just interesting. Maybe we come up here, right, and then you lose the POC and come down to the low. If not, you can look to come up here and maybe continue up into your bigger zone. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll check in on this tomorrow. Hold the POC. Your next target's right here, 1648 to 1566. Lose the POC. Once you're underneath the POC, the doorway to the value area low opens up, right? And for me personally, I would prefer the drop down here, right? Because if you could get the push down, you could get some nice bullish divergences, which I don't know, they're not really looking like they want to set up. But, maybe we'll get like a 4-hour bull div or something. Who knows? Too early to tell. But there's your key level, 1430. You got to hold above this in order to push into your next zone. Lose the POC, value area low, door opens up again. Checking the money flow, like the one thing I don't really hate here, guys, if you're not going to revisit it, right? Same thing on Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the other altcoins, 8-hour money flow, 10-hour money flow crossing into the green. We'll see if this ends up playing out. Hopefully that could continue to give you higher lows and higher highs on the higher time frames. Eventually, just for what it's worth, value area high sits here at 2050. That would be the next major target, right? Not local pullback levels, but the next major target. Maybe we see it fill in full, and we just end up front running that value area low. It's not impossible. All right, so let's continue on here. Santa becomes Santa because Santa became Santa because he drinks reindeer urine that fed on Amanita Musa. He was taking mushrooms? Shout out to New Earth Guardian. What? Is that true? Is that like the legend of Santa? Shout out to New Earth Guardian. I don't know what that means. But interesting. I do kind of want to buy a bunch of Doge at 14 cents. But let me actually check in on. So did Vikings. Wow, were they just doing mushrooms back in the day? Was that just like a normal thing? It is the legend. Is that? I'm going to Google that after this Or maybe I'll just ask AI. That's the new Google. Anyway, do I trade USD, JPY? I do not. I do not trade Forex. In the beginning of my trading journey, I messed around with Forex for a little bit, but I would pretty much say I don't really have experience trading Forex. Pretty much crypto exclusively. Shout out to Simano, said Santa does not do mushrooms. WTF. Oh, God, we're unhinged here today, guys. Unhinged. Anyway, let's continue on. What should we look at next? Sui. We wanted to take a look at Sui. Let's take a quick look here. Bada boom, bada bing. Sui, we looked at this yesterday, right? We talked about this. You are holding the key level, right? You do still have your 786 down here at 108. I just don't love that level as much because once you come down here, if you bounce, like you have to get back above your value area high. And if you cannot, it would indicate a much bigger drop down to potentially fill this wick and head down towards your POC, which sits a lot closer to 44 cents, right? I'm not saying you have to go down there. And as of right now, right, you are holding on to that key level, right? We looked at this even without the golden pocket, right? Like that value area high is your next big level. Hide the Fibonacci retracement. We know, right? Auction market theory. Bing bong around here. Once you see the imbalance, right? Well, not once you see this, right? But once you start breaking down out of this range, once you see your money flow decisively crossing into the red, right? You would say to yourself, and I do think coming back here into bar replay mode is helpful, right? Because you can actually see what it looks like. Money flow is bing bonging around, right? We'll just move this forward a little bit. Oh, it's back in the green. Oh, tried to go back in the green. Right? Now you're bearishly retesting your value area low, dropping down. Money flow is in the red. At this point, you're not looking for a full fill of this range, right? You need your money flow beautifully trending to the upside. You don't have that. So if you start imbalancing to the downside, where is the next natural target for price to go? Price always seeks fair value. Where's the fair value here? If we are headed down, where's the next area of fair value? Well, it's right down here on your bigger range. Not loading, but there's your value area high. There's your next area of balance. Price is going to get gravitated to this like a magnet. And sure enough, right, this isn't hindsight analysis, right? We looked at this live. Eventually, right, and then again, money flow is in the red. You're looking for lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. There's your key level of support. Now we're bouncing on top of this key level. You do not want to lose this level. If we get accepted in here, like hopefully we can get some kind of retracement if we do have to get back in here first. But if you do wind up losing this level, $1.34, absolutely key support. You get accepted underneath here, you're looking for the bigger drop down. I mean, maybe to fill, you don't really have a lot of support underneath you, right? All the key levels that you have here have been washed out by the liquidation wick here, right? So at the end of the day, get accepted into the profile, start coming back down, right? Fill the wick, and then at that point, your next key level of support sits down here at 45 cents. Don't want that. You must hold above this level. The only other level you can hold, again, is the 786, right? But I just don't love that as much. Whoops. Oh, that'll work. Could you get down here, bounce off the 786, get back above and send it? Sure. The only thing you have to be careful of is, you know, especially with your high time frame money flow in the red, 5-day, 6-day, and the weekly in the red here, you have to be careful of lower highs and lower lows. Can't get outside the profile. You know, you're just at danger of dropping through the rest of that volume profile. So technically, you have $1.08 as your last level of support. I prefer to hold on top of this, right? If you do bounce here, see if we have any, no real daily bullish divergences. I mean, we'd really have to zoom in to see. Right, I guess you do technically have the lower lows on your wick. You do technically, kind of equal lows on your bodies. So you have a lackluster bull div here on the daily. Let's check the 4-hour. Maybe you don't really have, slight bullish divergences into the level. But let's just assume you hold this as support and you do continue up, right? The biggest level of resistance is going to be sitting up here at 242. Right? This is going to be resistance until proven otherwise. If you can get accepted back into that range, then you can look for a bigger move up. But again, I would just be cautious. You do have confluence here on your golden pocket 786. So if you're looking for lower highs and lower lows, if we get the bigger retracement, this would be a big place to look at. Come up, bearish retest. If you can't get accepted back in, that could be the rejection for the macro lower high and macro lower low. If you reclaim it, well, hey, maybe you could shoot up towards that POC at 352. I just can't call for that yet because I don't know what the chart's going to look like up here. But those are the next biggest levels. You're bouncing off your key level of support, $1.34. Next key level of resistance, $2.34. Last line of defense, $1.08 at that 786. There you go. Still high time frame money flow. Not doing what you would want for massive pushes up, right? I know we don't have money flow back here, but you could see, right? You clearly had a fresh crossover, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Money flow starts to cool off. High, low, lower high. Kind of just bing-bonged around. Massive drop down. And obviously a bleed out. Now your money flows in the red. The bias here has to be for a continuation down. Until that money flow fakes back out. But hopefully we can get the bigger retracement up to 235. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. Said head and shoulders patterns are as good, are about as useful as flipping a coin. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. Yeah, without any other form of analysis, I would probably say the same thing. It's not that patterns don't mean anything. It's like if you're just going to trade patterns alone, trust me, I've tried this. I think most people have to learn this the hard way, right? Most people want to believe that trading's as easy as seeing a shape on the chart, taking a trade, and winning. Will you win some of them? Yes. Do head and shoulders technically break down more than they break up? I think statistically they might. But to trade that alone, not every head and everyone talks about the head and shoulders that play out. No one talks about all the head and shoulders, the many head and shoulders that don't play out. So you can use them. You just have to use other forms of analysis. I personally just look at them for context, right? If it agrees, right? Like if I'm looking at something and I see money flow is, I'll just draw this out, right? Like if I see money flow is coming out and I have a right shoulder, a head, and a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder, right? And I'm looking, right? I'm looking at money flow coming out on the daily, and I'm looking for lackluster bounces for lower highs and lower lows. Well, and I see a head and shoulders, well, then I'll just be like, I don't even really base anything off the head and shoulders. I'm just really looking for a lower high and a lower low based off of probably Fibonacci retracements. I'm looking to come into the golden pocket 786 for a lower high and a lower low based off the money flow. And then I just kind of look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, and it's a head and shoulders. That's interesting. Doesn't really give me much more confidence or anything, but it's just like, oh, there's a little confluence there. But again, yeah, patterns don't really mean much to me. Not saying that you can't trade them and make money, right? But just can't trade them alone, in my opinion. Let's see here. Candlestick patterns are market maker traps, too easy to emulate. Yeah, maybe. Could be. I do pay attention to it's a good way to it's good to understand candlestick patterns and just price action in general. If you have a doji candle, right? The one thing I would say about candle formations is if you have say a doji candle, right? Big wick on both sides, kind of a flat candle, right? What does that indicate, right? It just indicates indecision, right? Does that make sense? Yes. Well, because if you look at this on a 1 minute or 1 second time frame, what is that doji candle going to look like? It's just going to look like sideways chop, right? Which is indecision. We don't want to go up. We don't want to go down. We're just kind of stuck. So I think it's important to understand candlestick patterns, but I don't trade just based off of them. And it's the same thing with bullish hammers, bearish hammers. It's you can take information from that. I don't know. I wouldn't trade anything alone, right? I wouldn't trade even volume profiles alone. You just always have to understand that there's many ways to look at the market. And there's more than one thing that moves it, which is why everyone who hunts for the buy and sell indicators, it's just not a real thing. At least not a real thing that can make you money, in my opinion. Vector candles are king. Yeah, shout out to Tino. Yeah, I've never used the vector candles, but people love them. I think that's what you mean by vector candles. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at one more altcoin here. I live in Heikinashi, so candlestick patterns are basically not a thing I think about. Yeah, shout out to India Martini. I used to exclusively use Heikinashi candles. It just makes things much cleaner to look at, right? Just smooths out those trends. But I have switched. I'm not going to lie. I really look at regular candles most of the time. I will flip to Heikinashis once in a while. But again, everyone wants to know the right or wrong thing. What's better? I think there's a lot of opinion that goes into that, right? And your opinion can change, right? Like, I used to always look at Heikin-Ashi candles. Now I look more at regular candles. Like, I was still doing really well with Heikin-Ashi candles, and it's not right or wrong. I think a lot of people just want the black or white answer, and trading is very much not that. So yeah, you just got to use what works well for you, right? If I always say this. Someone told me they hold 2 treats in their hands and let their dog pick one of the hands. One's long, one's short, and they make money doing that. Please, for the love of God, continue to do that. Now, do I think it's likely that you can make money doing that? Probably not. But I mean, if you're actually genuinely making money, like, just do that. Like, I'm not going to try to talk you out of something that's making you money. I wouldn't even recommend trying to learn anything else. Like, if it's making you money, just stick to that. What ain't broken, don't fix it. Right? When it comes to trading, if you're making money, keep doing your thing. Right? I would never try to tell someone, you trade ICT? Why would you trade that? You're never going to make money. If that person's genuinely making money, I would never try to talk them out of it. That's like silly. Let's see. I like watching both at the same time. Yeah, a lot of the things that I do, I kind of just toggle back and forth. Right? It's very simple, right? Like, even if you have the templates up here, it's super easy, right? It's like, oh, let me see what the Heikin-Ashis look like. Beautiful. All right, let me see the regular candles. Oh, awesome, a doji candle, right? I think someone did that with a 70% win rate. Shout out to Lacers Go Pew Pew. I mean, hey, if it happened, then there you go. I got to get a dog. Another reason to get a dog, guys. All right, Aptos. I keep seeing people ask for Aptos. Let's take a quick look here. We'll just take a look at the Coinbase chart. Oh, beautiful. This is our... Oh, right. Well, dang. Haven't looked at this in quite some time. And I actually do remember, right? We have this major, major key level. I actually labeled it key. Look at that. Daily and a weekly MPOC, another daily underneath. If we lost that, the reason we were looking at this as a major key level was because the only level of support that we had underneath us was unfortunately... sitting down here at $1.67, and can't hate on the key level because it was absolutely correct on being extremely important before that bigger drop down. And dang, we tapped that like to the tick. Look at that. Really difficult situation here, guys, because like I can't, I believe the reason we were looking at those extension levels is because I could not look left anymore, right? Like I can't find any structure to the left. So you have to kind of rely on those like imaginary, Fibonacci extension levels, which of course, as you can see, are not just random. But they somehow work, right? A lot of other people are looking at those levels, right? It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but at the end of the day, if it's going to give you support, it works, right? But yeah, I mean, you're bouncing off of it. I'm kind of in the same situation. Like, there's nothing really I can look down here to until $1.06, right? So you're like really hoping that you hold this, right? If you can't, really the only other thing I can look at is sitting down here at $1.06 at our next extension level. So nice to see that hold up, but I'm not seeing, I mean, you have some daily bullish divergences. This thing's obviously struggling pretty hard. So yeah, I mean, there it is, right? Next level at $1.06. Like, you got to hold this. I'm not loving the reaction here just yet. 2-day green dot confirmed, 3-day red green dot printing, 5-day green dot looking to print, 6-day green dot looking to print, weekly green dot looking to print. So your hope here is that you can print these high time frame green dots and get a bit more of a retracement to the upside. And actually, let me bring back up those key levels. The only reason I'm going to keep these key levels on the chart is just because, this is like almost... Actually, hang on. We might have some new MPOCs above. Hang on. All right, so you have a daily MPOC right here. Weekly MPOC right here. So it's a little easier because I have actual price action to look at to find the resistance. Whoops. And then I will also pull... So obviously your value area low is a major level, right? It's your golden pocket 786 from the lower high to the low. If you were able to get a massive push, flip the MPOCs to support, that's a weekly. And you do get the bigger retracement. This would be a huge, huge, huge level to look at for a potential maybe a lower high and a lower low. Hopefully not. At that point, you got to flip that 786 at about 474 in order to get accepted into the profile, in my opinion. Of course, the value area low is important, but when you have the confluence here on your Fibonacci retracement, it's not impossible to bing bong around here, reject the 786, and then just lose the range. So this zone does sit between 412 and 479. Definitely a big zone. I can't promise you're going to get all the way back up there. So more locally, I could try to pull some local levels here. Or more local levels, put up on a 4-hour time frame. See if we have confluence here. No. Yeah, maybe on this lower high, you got a little resistance there. So, understand if you pull from the lower high to the low here, you do have golden pocket confluence here at 251, so I will mark that. I'll just mark this whole fib retracement. And then you do have your weekly MPOC. So these are going to be the biggest and, to be honest, like the only levels of resistance I can pull up. Maybe I could pull up a daily. That's tapped, I believe. So yeah, next levels, right? If you do get a push up, maybe you reject super locally here. I'm not going to, beat you guys over the head with every single level. But I would say significant confluent levels, 220 to 237. If you get above that, maybe you push into 250 to 275. And then once you get above that, right, there's not a ton above you. I mean, you do have a daily here. I mean, you got another daily right here. You got another daily right here. I mean, you got a lot of work to do, if I'm being honest. But let's just keep it local, right? If you get the continuation up, these are the next zones I would look at. You got the Fibonacci, local Fibonacci confluence, and then once you get back above these MPOCs, biggest target's going to be up here, but you're just real far away at this point. Hard for me to just be like, look at this level, 124% pump. But it is important, right? And in order for this thing to like really recover, in my opinion, right, even looking at the weekly, right, like you got to get a back above here, right? Other than that, this could be just struggle city. So, long term, watch the 430 level. Short term, those are the local levels. And then to the downside, right, you lose this, just like that key level up here was calling for the big drop down here. I would say lose this, probably another fast drop down to $1.06. So that's what I'll be looking at on Aptos. Oh, shout out to Laser Go Pew Pew. Said, I found the story. It was a goldfish named Frederick and an engineer, Michael Reeves. His goldfish outperformed both the NASDAQ and Wall Street bets. Can't make it up, guys. Can't make it up. Got to get a goldfish. Goldfish is a little less commitment than a dog. But there we go. But with all that being said, guys, that is all the time we got for today's live stream. Let's pull up Bitcoin real quick here. Like I said, keep an eye on your local range. I'll just give you the local levels here. We're back inside the profile. Hopefully, we hold above the POC. This is still the key level of support, right? $91,300. If we fill the single prints and we end up getting the fast drop down here, that is a big level to hold. If we lose this, going to be looking lower, right? This is really the level. POC, 91.3. Also, your macro value area low. I'd be okay testing this for a potential higher low and a higher high. But once you wind up losing it, I think you probably come back down to revisit the lows. So get it marked off on your chart. Value area high, 93,570, 91,329 at the POC, and then your value area low, daily, weekly, and POC confluence, 87.3 to 86,589. That's all the time I got for today's live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Shout out to Mystic Ruin. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Give the mod some love on the way out, guys. Shout out to Mafia961, Lasers Go Pew Pew, Hedora, Crypto Paisa, Jesse, and last but not least, Seek Parabolic. It's all I got for you guys today. We'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the is it? They should have had them two bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, though they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Dre. what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside.